This one comes with a trigger rating, y'all. Today we are going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, including shame, guilt, childhood trauma, high school trauma, and work trauma. If that is a little too much, then maybe you guys want to only stick to the first part of this show. Okay? Got another one of these coming up when the time comes. Hey guys, what is going on? How you doing out there? It is I, Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, saying what's up, what's going on, how you feeling, what is the word? How you guys doing out there? That's right, we are live. I put the trigger warning on this one. This is gonna be one, and we going long today. Long. Or should I say long today? Gotta love all the notifications you get when you push go on the stuff. So, I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and welcome to the dark side of the room. Man, my hair is looking a little jacked. And I think I'm coming in a little dark today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fix up my hair and we gonna go just a little bit brighter on that one. But I'm Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, and welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show that we talk about all things geek, all things fun and happy, and the ways that we can be more fun and more happy. Let me just turn myself up just a little bit. Yeah, that's the word. That's what I'm looking for. Right there. Just getting myself a little bit done. That's good. And yeah, we talk about a lot of things, and this is the show that we have kind of to advertise, but mostly to fund our community service stuff, like RPG lessons, taking RPGs to disenfranchised areas for people that really need to put the stuff they learn in school into practical use. And let's face it, when you in school taking English classes and stuff, you're like, what do I care about all this stuff and all that jazz, along with applied mathematics, statistical analysis, and a lot of psychology and behavioralism. So we got a lot of stuff coming down on the docket today. But before we get all that stuff going, if you guys want to join the show today, you can do so in a couple of ways. Way number one is to pull up your email and type in backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Back in the Deck. You can also hit me up at Instagram. My account is one of the few accounts that doesn't look like somebody that you'll never date, or standing in places that you'll never go, wearing clothing that you can't afford. So send me a message over there. And of course, check out the further adventures of Lil Saul over on TikTok. That's at BidP. That's at BIDPY. Now, if you guys are up for helping us keep the lights on and all that jazz, that's something that we really appreciate, not gonna lie about all that. All you gotta do is head over to patreon.com/BID_P and become a patron for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month. You can help us keep the lights on. If you're rolling a little bit harder than that and feel the inclination, then you can hit the royalty tier starting at Queen for the price of a standard pack of cigarettes and a 2-liter bottle of soda every month. you can, one, get a whole bunch of incentives and free stuff because we give free stuff at every level. And you can also help us buy supplies like role-playing books, archery kits, and I'm talking like bows and arrows and stuff like that. For the kids that want to learn that stuff, practice swords, foam and acrylic paints for the art programs that we put on. There is a lot of stuff that we do, I will tell you what. And you get a shout out at every single show that we produce. Starting with our queen, Shaylee Watson, our other queen, Laura Holton, and our king, that's right, our king, Shannon Boom Boom Lang. So that's how you guys can help us out. And I want to talk. Well, I really want to give a shout out. Let's face it. Let's give a shout out. Say what's up, hello, and all of that stuff in our chat. You know, my mentor would say the chat-a-tat-tat. I like to call them NP City. What is going on with another TTV viewer? Bing Cortana, Clever Little Vixen, Fried One, hey, guten Nacht. I think it's guten Nacht. Along with, I believe, yep, that is the Vagrant Unicorn. How you doing out there? If you guys haven't checked out her Twitch channel, you should, man. She is a great singer, a great performer. I've known this person for, God, coming up on 30 years, and I'm not saying that in the showbiz way of a great entertainer, a great humanitarian, and my good friend for, oh God, years. No, I really mean that. This person is one of the coolest people I met. One of the popular girls in school that was not mean, and they kept it on for the rest of their adult life. So check out their channel where they play various musical instruments and sing. It's all fun. So now that we've got that handled and that we're giving everybody the shout outs and all that jazz, how you guys doing? You know, interesting thing happened this weekend. I've been working and working and working. Oh, my bad. Yeah, okay. Gute Nacht is goodbye. Sorry. Well, hello and welcome. I don't know how to say it in German. I flunked that class in junior high. And yeah, I did take German in junior high along with Latin, Spanish, and Japanese. It was one of those schools. I didn't say I was good. I just said I took the class. Anyway. This weekend, I was working myself to death. There were, there was some shoots for some up and coming shows that I'm doing. I'm working on something that I'm technically under an NDA for. And I spent the weekend writing a lot of stuff for this week so I can give you guys tighter and more put together shows. But one of the things I ended up doing accidentally was oh, thank you guten Abend, guten Abend. Oh, that okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. Of course it would make a lot of sense. It's coming from a native speaker of the language, so always willing to learn something else to get 3 inches better than I was yesterday. I ended up running a game for my oldest friend. Now, this person has been like a sister to me since I was in the 1st grade, and I'm not joking. Her and her brother were the first people I met when I moved to the first, well, not to the first, but to the house that I grew up in and the place that I live this very day. Okay, we're talking that old childhood friend. But that old childhood friend and I, we played loads and loads of games of pretend in the park. We would run around being knights and warriors and stuff like that. But this was in the days before I had access to Dungeons and Dragons and in the middle of the Satanic Panic in the 1980s, okay? For those of you guys that don't know, I published a video a while ago talking about the Satanic Panic in the United States over Dungeons and Dragons in the 1980s, where people were assuming, nope, we don't have the rights to that. We don't have the rights. Hang on. Oh, there it is. Yeah, we gotta stop there. That was an accidental push. Almost got flagged. But yeah. So as I was saying, yeah, in the 1980s, from 84, 85 on, there was a big thing that's like, oh, playing with them dice is like gambling, so it's of the devil. And the churches, specifically the evangelical churches, so not just black churches, but churches all throughout the American rural South, equated Dungeons and Dragons with the devil. Okay, so if you played it, your soul's on the line. We did a Buster recap on the Chick track about Dungeons and Dragons, but we did it satirically, but it was a real thing. So all these years later, she sat down at my table for her very first game of Dungeons and Dragons, and she had a blast. She had a big blast, and I got a visit from some other family members that night, and with all the new players that I was sitting at the table with again, it got me thinking about being a new player, taking this stuff out to the places that I take it to, specifically disenfranchised areas. And the thing that got me, okay, the really big thing that got me is twofold, and that's what today's show is about. I was thinking like when I was a kid and I didn't have anybody to play with, my library growing up was terrible. It was the Los Angeles Unified Library, and though Shakespeare is a given, it didn't have any Shakespeare, and I loved Shakespeare. I really did. Um, from Romeo and Juliet, which I learned to hate later on because I resent teenagers. Don't take any offense. It's my stuff, not yo stuff. Y'all fine. um, to Titus Andronicus and Julius Caesar and Much Ado About Nothing, Twelfth Night, just name it, it's out there. I'm not as big on the Sonics as the Bard in the deck, who will be on hopefully when I can pull him out of the studio for his voice acting and all that stuff. You guys have heard him, he's on video games. Um, but one of the things I had was something that allowed me to kill time alone when my friends couldn't come outside. Because when we were young, we all lived in houses that had bars on the window and on the door. So sneaking out was hard because you can sneak out, but the door would still be unlocked if you didn't have a key and your parents would know, and then you'd have to go back inside and probably get spankings upon spankings upon spankings. Um, so when I would be like, boom, 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 can they come outside? Can they come outside? Be like, no, they can't come outside. And I had two options once my friends couldn't come outside. I could sit on their porch and we could talk and laugh and all that stuff as if we were outside, we just couldn't be running. Or I could go home and read. That was my whole thing. Um, and one of the things that I ended up doing a lot, and this was the thing that really whet my appetite for role-playing games. Now, Dungeons and Dragons was a cartoon back then. It was fun. It ran for one season, and it doesn't hold up to today's standards, but it was the best we had, so but what we had were choose your own adventure novels where you would read the book as though you were the main character. And these books were the only books that I read as a kid that I knew I was supposed to put myself in the main character of. Okay. Um, Thing about representation, and I don't want to get too political. That's for the meeting tonight down at the docks. Bring your trench coat, wear a mask. Um, is a lot of people out there automatically watch a movie or a TV show and they put themselves in the main character. So they are Nemo, they are Frodo, they are Neo from the Matrix, they are Bella from the Twilight novels, all that stuff. But growing up looking like I did, I couldn't exactly do that because the people that I looked most like were supporting characters if they were there at all. So I took this, I had this thing of always interacting with entertainment as an outside observer. Okay. Except for with plays, because I would literally have to act them out. So I could be Hamlet because I'm reading Hamlet's lines to Horatio or Ophelia or the king. So in that case, when I'm in the performance, I can be that character. But when I'm watching the performance, I'm on the outside. I'm looking at world through a window. But with choose your own adventure novels, I was forced. to put myself in the main thing, because what they are is they're fun little adventure books where every chapter, and the chapter's only like 60 words, so we're not talking very big, but they would end on a cliffhanger, and they would say, what would you do if you do X? Turn to this chapter. If you do Y, that kind of thing. um and These things were great because when you're looking at entertainment, even if you're injecting yourself into the main character thing, you can always play wheelchair general. Going, well, I know if I was at Camp Crystal Lake, I wouldn't have opened the door like that, or I wouldn't have run out like that. Or, if I lived in Haddonfield, Illinois, and Michael Myers was chasing me, I'd just push his sister right toward him and call it a day. It's easy to say that stuff. But when you sit down with the choose your own adventure novels and you actually get to make the choices and find out what happens, it's really immersive, really interactive. The thing was, my library had these things. And these things, again, they were so much fun. Like the Abominable Snowman, where you're literally an explorer. um, and you end up coming across a Yeti. Statue of Liberty adventure, where it pretty much was that Nicolas Cage movie. Prisoner of the Ant People, cool sci-fi, some adventure stuff. And you're a shark, you're a shark, you're an M and F and shark, and these things, they were fun. I could read them, and they were very much yeah, space vampire, right? This is a really big thing. And I know after I left the inner city and went to the main part of the city in the suburbs, so many kids grew up reading these things, and I'm like, well, why weren't they available where I was except for at the library? Then I realized where I lived, not many bookstores. But yeah, these things are fun. However, if they were written before 1998, these things were brutal. So brutal. In the submarine one, chances are you would end up dying of explosive decompression. um, if you were doing the space thing, you would end up being blown out of the airlock. Sugarcane Island. It was These things were the Oregon Trail of novels. Okay, you would put yourself in it and you would die of dysentery or have your arm bitten off by a snowman. It was messed up and awesome. And this made way for a lot of video games, a lot like role-playing games and all that stuff. Uh, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, Fried One. Seriously, R.L. Stine giving PTSD. Yeah, I mean, it was, these books were amazing. Um, and TSR, the or the company that produced Dungeons and Dragons, took this a step further with a lot of Forgotten Realms novels back in the late 80s, early 90s, where their choose your own adventure novels had you create a character for Dungeons and Dragons, and you would roll the dice for the stuff that you wanted to do. Like if you want to climb the ladder, roll this skill, that kind of thing. And later on, nowadays, one, you can still find these novels. Okay, now I'm not gonna lie, the novels that look like this, where are they from? Now again, I'm letting y'all know, like right now, these books, no, not that one, not that one. Yeah, these books, yeah, this is from Vulture magazine. There are 185 of these things. 185 of these things, and you can find them. I'm pretty sure you can find them on Amazon. Um, and they're fun. They're a really cool way, in my opinion, to spend a day. Like if you got the house to yourself, um, or you're just taking a mini vacation. Um, yeah, like seriously. Um, these things are fun, and I know Wizards of the Coast, upon releasing the fifth edition D&D, choose they released like six of them, the Endless Quest novels, and I actually have a good amount of them. But oh yeah, here we go. The whole enchilada. Look at these things. These are, what is it? No, no, no. Yeah, the Escape the Underdark Dark was one of them. But yeah, these books here, and you can find them on Amazon for like $8. You know, the Endless Quest series are out there. The Mad Mage, you know, and these are actually pretty fun. You know, these really are, they're choose your own adventure books, but you don't make a character for them as though you were playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons. But um, they're really good primers for playing role playing games. I mean, it's a big thing. Yeah, the original Endless Quest ones came out in 82 from TSR. And these guys, you would literally make a character, grab your bookmark, and go. You would play the game, you would use your character skills, all that stuff. It's pretty good. They're all pretty good. They're pretty fun. The new Endless Quest ones, you don't make a character, you're just kind of assigned one. And again, it's if you go left, turn on page 65. If you go right, turn to page 72. That kind of thing. Um, and in all honesty, again, I'm a big fan of them. Now, for people who want to get into role playing or who have been into role playing, I don't care if you're new or you're a groknar. The one thing that you know is unless you want to play online and jump onto an online game with people that you don't know, um, a lot of the times life gets in the way and it's hard to get your friends together to play. Okay. This is a known thing. One of the reasons that video games are so popular is they are these choose your own adventure type novels that you can play by yourself. That's why we get stuck in our phone. We virtually interact with people via social media, and then we play games that we don't need anyone else to play. And I've got hours. Okay, fine, weeks. If you add up all the time I play, I've got weeks. In my cell phone game, I play a lot of matching puzzle games, you know, the Candy Crush type, you know. And it's a good way to kill time. Um, but it really doesn't engage people in the same way that books does. There's not as much problem solving. There fewer synapses are falling off because their job is to be addictive to make more money. So that's a thing. But if you want to play D&D or a role-playing game in general and you can't find people to play with, what do you do? You know, and that is where solo adventures come in. Now, what solo adventures are they are modules or pre-written adventures. Okay, they were called modules in the beginning, and that's what they were named. They're pre-made adventures for whatever role play system that you want to play, be it um, um, Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Star Trek, Buffy, Firefly, whatever it is that you are making your little character and dicing. There are pre-written adventures, and solo modules are adventures for literally one person. Now, these types of things, and I know I'm coming on like 18 months late because these things were great during quarantine. Um, Especially when you didn't want to sit in front of a computer and stare at a screen all day. Um, you could print these out or order these on Amazon, and it is a simulated dungeon master. Okay, and it essentially runs like a choose your own adventure novel, except you write up your character, you do, and you choose your character class, and it's all that stuff, and you go through the module by yourself. Now, this does not have the same richness as playing with a bunch of people. In the same way that making yourself dinner is not as fun and enjoyable as having a dinner party. Okay? I mean that's just how it is. They're different experiences with similar um, with similar components. Now, one of the resources that I use a lot for these things, and I use this particular resource for a lot of my role playing stuff as a GM, as a writer, as a person who just digs this stuff, is a website that isn't sponsoring me yet, called rpg.net. Or sorry, wrong one, put that away. It's called drivethrurpg.com. Okay. And drivethrurpg.com is literally a repository of digital copies of just about every game, every module, a lot of dead stuff. We got comics, cards, fiction. It is a great, great, great resource. And for people that want to make their own game, if you make and publish your own game, chances are it's going to be put up on DriveThruRPG for your sales. And it's a pretty intuitive RPG modules. And the thing is, there's always a sale, and I'm a big, big, big fan. Like, first one up, Morningstar, The Descent, the Triumvirate Packs, for the Descent system. It's a solo adventure, and it costs $4. It's on. It normally costs $5. It's on sale for $4. What I do like about this particular resource is you can decide your own price, and free is my favorite. And with all that, like, you literally look at all this Universal AOS 60 treasure pack. I put in 0. I don't want to pay anything. So what free resources do you got there? And the biggest thing about your, the biggest thing about that, it keeps your keywords and your price so you can find something. Solo RPG modules, 5th edition, booga boom, and there you go. And literally all you got to do once you get here for the modules is you click on the button if you have an account, and then you download it directly to your computer. And you're killing me, Fried One. Yes, you have to read them. Okay, yeah, you got to read them. So that's not exactly free in the same way of not having it downloaded directly into your spinal cord is, but it's not a monetary thing. And you have the option of downloading it onto your device, because they send it to you via PDF and they download it directly. And or you can actually order the hard copy for a little more and they ship it to you. And I'll let you know, the accounts are free. It is a subscription service, but when you pay for stuff, they got to register whatever your payment, your credit card, your PayPal, whatever. But yeah, but the fact of the matter is, it is a great, great, great resource. Of course, you can get the stuff off of Amazon and all that stuff as well. Oh, dude, you're great. Oh, seriously, major thanks. Major thanks for all the subs. Unicorn, that is awesome. Let's see. Who got them? Going to the top. Yeah, giving them out, and I'm trying to read them. But the things that I got right now are messing with my things. So, for those of you guys that are subscribing, yeah, seriously, thank you. Thank you very much. To, thanks Bree Bear, thanks Chaos Bulldog, thanks Tay, thanks Balls to Wild, thanks Critical Pop. Thank all you guys, seriously. And thank you Vagrant Unicorn. You're seriously like you're seriously making making the community bigger. I appreciate that. So we were talking about DriveThruRPG. The account itself is free, and you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to pay anything. There are so many free resources on this page. Now, you'll be able to find a lot. I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of free stuff if you're willing to do the Google search. This is just the one that I like myself. And the funniest thing about playing solo adventures. Okay, solo adventures is, since you're playing by yourself, you can cheat. I wouldn't quite say cheat. It really is a matter of saving your progress. Because chances are you will probably get killed, or your character will probably get killed over the course of the adventure, and then you go, well, that decision didn't go well. Let's go back, a couple of chapters. And this is a really fun way to do this stuff. I enjoy it quite a bit. Like seriously, it's a really big thing that I like to do. Especially when my girlfriend doesn't feel like well, when my girlfriend doesn't exactly feel like playing because she's got stuff to do with her job and the charity that she's running, um, or I'm up in the middle of the night and I'm tired of binge watching YouTube. I can sit down with one of these and just kind of roll my dice and do that whole thing. Especially when I don't feel like GMing at the moment and I don't know anyone who's willing to run a game. These things are, all of these things are options. Mm, you know, um, because truth be told, as much as I love choose your own adventure novels, you can only go through them about 4 times. The reread value is not that hard, but not that high. But after 4 times, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of done with this one. The upside, there's 187 of them from that one company alone, about 12 of them directly from Wizards of the Coast. And if you can find them, the old ones from TSR. That's a really, really big one. So, again, these are a lot of options and cool ways to spend your time. If you are a parent, and you're having a hard time trying to get your preteen to read, these are great examples, are great tools to use for just that. Okay, I use them in my programs just to kind of whet the appetite, especially when I get those sarcastic tweens that are like, it didn't leave me many options to do stuff and video games are easier and better. I'm like, yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Not having, what's up, Dark Force 1999. Yeah, it's definitely out there. Now, um, so I'm checking out the chat to make sure that's any questions. Um, you know, that's a big thing. So doesn't look like we have a whole lot of questions. So now is that time. I am warning you guys that we are going to have a long show today because we are seriously, and I mean this, getting into some stuff. Okay. Um, our main story. Okay. Or hang on. Our subject today has to come with a trigger warning. This topic will probably bring up bad memories of childhood, school, be it kindergarten all the way to your PhD. There's a lot of stuff going on this topic in the workforce, so this is a real subject and a real thing. Okay. um and that is, um well, I'm not going to tell you right off. First, I'm going to tell you why I picked this subject. As you guys know, I deal with a lot of new players. Okay. I think I deal with more new players to RPGs than most people who do it without charging. Okay. And I'm talking like Adventure League guys and stuff like that. Um, and the biggest thing that I come across with new players is fear of interaction. Um, Most of the time. um, yeah, this trigger. Yeah, I talked about the trigger warning. Fried one. Um, so when I sit down at a table with new people, it's really hard to get people not sitting on pins and needles. And occasionally I pull aside new players and I'm like, okay, um, is there a reason you don't seem like you were having as much fun? And they're like, well, I mean, I did have fun. And I'm like, I hear butt coming. And one of the things that keeps people away from interacting is social anxiety and shame. Okay. And this is a big one. This is really, really a big one. Now, I'm gonna share. Not qu- No, the trigger is shame and social anxiety. Okay. Um, the big thing on that is I'm gonna share a personal thing about myself. For a long time, when I was out there in the world, I met some really cool and influential and successful people. Okay. Um, People that really wanted to share with me the things that made them do what they do. I'm not gonna drop any particular names, but like one was willing to teach me martial arts, and they were a working actor that you can see on TV to this day. Another one is a friend of mine who is really good at running Kickstarters for self-publishing, and is really good about entrepreneurialism and running their own business. All of these things are things that we could all use. But when I interacted with them, I had this overwhelming sense of shame and not good enoughness that made me literally avoid them when we would be at the same place. Like I would see them at a convention, and when they looked at me, all I could feel was imposter syndrome. I felt people saying, you know, you're a liar, you're a fraud, you're not living up to your potential. And I would literally just cast one of my favorite spells of not being noticed. In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's called an SEP field, where I would cloak myself in energy that made me someone else's problem so that they wouldn't notice if they looked in my direction. Okay. Um, and I lived with that for a very long time. I lived with that shame because um I'm not living up to my potential, or I'm wasting my talents, or whatever it was that had me going in in hang on here. Whatever it was that I was failing at, um tune in. I'm on the main topic. Okay. Um yeah, whatever it was. And when I saw these friends, I'm just like, oh my god, they want to be my friends, but once they find out about me, they're gonna find out that I'm terrible, that I'm a flake, that, you know, because I'm 35, I'm not fiscally secure and all that stuff, and they're not gonna like me or want to be around me, or they're gonna look down on me, or they're gonna leave and abandon me because they thought I was one thing and it turns out I'm lesser. All these things. Okay. And that's my stuff. Okay. That literally is my stuff. And I don't struggle with it as much today. Okay. But it's still in there. It's going, hey, 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 you're almost 45. What have you got? What have you got? Blah, blah, blah. You know, what do you got? Come on, you're a genius. You're a wizard. Where's your magic? Blah, blah, blah. Right? Um, so I understand it, you know. And I started thinking about where this stuff came from. How do how do we, well, when we go through life, we're born and we're a kid with a backpack. Okay? Um we're a kid with a backpack, and as we go through life, we put different things in that backpack. Sometimes we put our draw rings, sometimes we put our friends, we put our feelings, but things happen in life that give us weights, like really heavy bricks. And sometimes those are bricks of insecurity, sometimes those are bricks of self-hatred, sometimes those are bricks of anxiety. And they get put out there, you know, from kids at school laughing at us, to people telling us that we're weird, to parents who could be better by telling us that we're by constantly they could be better than telling us that we're not good enough. But the fact of the matter is, the backpack that we hold in life, sometimes we put stuff in, sometimes we take things out, but every single thing that we put in it has mass. And if it has mass, that means that mass can be pulled toward the center of the planet. I'm talking about weight. And as we get older, more things accumulate in that backpack and it gets really, really heavy. And one thing that I've noticed in the world and at gaming tables is that we carry around a lot of backpacks full of shame, a lot of burdens of not enoughness, a lot of burdens of self-doubt, imposter syndrome. And I started to ask myself, where did mine come from, and is this a universal thing? Okay. Now, growing up, I grew up in a country that does not have the best history of being cool with people that look like me. Okay. Little too tan for a lot of places. I mean, it's a fact. Okay. History books say it, all that other stuff. And I was talking to my offspring, and my offspring told me a little bit about their experiences when they were in school. When they made a mistake or they misbehaved, first they would get yelled at, then they would get punished, and over the course of their yelling, they didn't just have to admit what they did. Okay, it wasn't just, did you do this? Yes. Okay, this is your punishment. They would ask why they did it. Why did you do this? Why did you do this? Which is a fair question to ask, but the difference was no answer that my offspring could give was acceptable unless it was self-deprecating. So, why did you do this? I was curious. Not a good answer. Why'd you do this? I was defending myself. Not a good answer. Why'd you do that? Because I'm bad. Or because I'm not smart. Or because I'm a barbarian. And that was what it was like growing up for me. Okay. For other people, because this is not truly a black thing. This is not just a black thing or a poor thing. For people I know that was brought up in the suburbs, it was, I know you're not stupid, so why did you make this mistake? Okay. If you're not stupid, what's your reason? Okay. And our positive traits were only pushed up to either exemplify our bad ones, or they would be weaponized against others of our peers. Okay. My theory, and this is just my theory, is that this became this is one of those sins of the father passed down to the offspring, or sins of the parent passed on to the children, because a lot of the times adults don't know what to do. And I think back on this, and I know with my experiences, the self-deprecating thing was often a scapegoat by the people that were asking, because ever since the 1960s, the answer can't be because you're black, or because you're Mexican, or because you're gay, or because, it can't be those. All right. They're thinking, you need to know that you're lesser than. And if you admit to me that you're lesser than, then I'll stop pushing you. Okay. And this is a lot of behavior that happens, especially in school, with kids at very young ages. And it was that way back in the 90s. I know, because that was when I was fighting against it hard. The question of what do you mean that you don't know was a regular thing. Now, I was defiant on that front. Okay. My scars were brought up when I was in my 20s, and people are like, you're good looking, you're intelligent, you should be well, good night, fried one. I'm glad that you were able to stay up late enough to get to this point. Thank you, and tell your friends. We do talk about a lot of gaming stuff and all that stuff. So look forward to seeing you next time. Um, so as I was saying, when I was growing up, um, that stuff was there, but it didn't have a great big effect on me because I always figured I'm a kid. I didn't know everything when I was born. So how can I be expected to know that now? I mean, heck, I'm 9. you know, I don't know what the sun is. And last I checked, gravity wasn't even a proven theory. You know, matter of fact, fun flash fact, as of the time of this recording, it still isn't. Uh, um, but when I was in my 20s, I was friends with a lot of people that came from an economic status higher than I did, and that didn't have the burden of my skin color. So their reasoning for why I wasn't already rich, famous, successful was because I didn't do a lot of the proper things to do so, which is true. I was never taught how to become successful where I came from. But um, on a different level, they were comparing me as they saw me to the lives that they lived with their advantages and stuff. Like I worked at a coffee shop, and my boss was like, dude, you're good looking, you're cool, you're intelligent. Why are you always single? Like, if I looked like you and had a motorcycle and blah blah blah, I'd have like 5 girlfriends. I'm like, you think that, but I'm not what people want, you know? Um, but after about 11 years of this, it's sunk in. It's sunk in. You have all of the things that I would need to live the life I want. Why are you not living the life that I want? Why aren't you living the life that you want? It must be because you are defective. You are not working hard enough. Um, and that was a big thing. That was a big thing. And that brought about shame because I started to feel like I was born wrong. Like there was an error in my build that made it so that I couldn't interact with the world. Okay? And this is what shame is. Now, I want to go to the definition of those things in a psychological manner so that we all know what we're talking about, okay? I individually, the cinematic sorcerer, am a big fan of guilt, okay? Guilt is a feeling of remorse over an action that you took. Okay? If you feel guilty for what you said or what you did or what damage things caused, that's a good thing. That's a sign of conscience. And guilt is a great thing to have. Okay? It really is. It lets you know that you've made an error and you have something to learn. And that's fantastic. Okay? Shame. Shame. Well, there goes that joke. Shame. Shame. Okay? Shame is the feeling that you are wrong, not for something that you did, but for who you are. Okay? There is a huge difference between those. An action is a thing that you perform. Who you are is something that takes a long time to alter and is a constant passive state. Okay? And growing up, I have a lot of friends that are from the suburbs and had to deal with as much, if not more, mockery than I did growing up. And just to let you guys know, because I'm all about transparency, I was a smelly fat kid who grew up in a place that was run by drugs, gangsters, and rap music. And I was a smelly fat kid that was not good at sports, listened to heavy metal, and loved mathematics. So I never got teased while I was getting the crap kicked out of me. Before and after, absolutely. But during, they were kind of busy and they wanted to make sure that they didn't run out of breath. So, and I met people that had more mockery put upon them than I did, for things having to do with the way they were born, the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, any of that stuff. You know, their religions, their creeds. Um, a lot of the times these manifested in aggressive physical violence. Other times this manifested in systemic disenfranchisement. It's a whole lot of different things. But in most cases, it created this idea of you took the action that you took for no reason other than you are a horrible person. And that is where the thought stops. And I think about this today. I think about this today because I'll be 45 years old this spring. Okay? I've been a lot of places, I've seen a lot of things. And I've learned a lot of things over that time. I have substantiated the four laws of living as taught to me by my high school physics teacher. Um, and I've also learned, like, you know, this is Solar's fifth law. People individually are complicated and collectively even more so. Okay? A person isn't just good or bad. Every person is complex. Every thought that we have, every action that we take or don't take, is literally like a one-dimensional point on a page of a spike that leads to a mountain. We're not even talking about a tip of the iceberg. We're talking a snowflake on the tip of that iceberg that's on a planet composed of ice. I mean, it is a really small aspect to everything that a person goes through, because the thing that makes us all special is that we're all having individual experiences with individual factors that shape us that are constantly changing. I personally think that's like huge, but now we're talking magic and I don't want to get into that very deeply. Um, and so just to say that guy's a bad person, that girl's a bad person, I'm a bad person, that is super reductive and not really helpful. Okay. Um, and how does this come in with shame? Because fill in the blank is a bad person is the definition of what shame is, especially actively. And I felt that I had to speak to this today because I see it all over the internet and I kind of understand why. A good amount of creators on the internet, through no fault of their own, are under 40 years old. Okay. And so saying that this is a bad person or I'm a good person, which is a real big one, um, it's a defense mechanism based on the judgments that we face on the internet, in American culture, and in a lot of other places. Okay. Um, but no one is good or bad. People do good things. They are bad. They do bad things. They do good things. They do indifferent things. But are they wholly good? Are they wholly bad? Much, much more intelligent people for the past 2,000 years have been trying to answer that question, and I can't answer it definitively. Okay. But what I can say is that nobody, nobody alive, to my knowledge, is as bad as it's easy to label them. Okay. Including you. All right. That's a big thing. You know, you are not as bad as it's easy to label yourself. It is not. It, I learned a phrase today that I've been looking for a long time, and that is the fascistic commitment to perfection. Um, and that's something that's really pushed on us from a very young age. Okay. It's all about the final grade that you get. It's all about whether you win the game. Um, it's always the results of your worth is based on whether or not you are above everyone else, including yourself. Okay. Um, I've known a lot of perfectionists over my time. My mother was the first one I met, and I was never one for perfection because I examined it as soon as I learned what it was. Um, the ironic thing that I live by is that the least perfect thing that there is perfection. Because if something is perfect, a perfectly created this, a perfectly captured that, a perfect outfit, that means it's separated from the rest of reality, because any singular change to what is perfect ruins perfection. Any change, because by the definition of perfect, it is the absolute best that it can possibly be under any circumstance, which means if there's something perfect and a breeze comes by, if you have a perfect outfit and a breeze comes by and one thread moves out of where it was when it was perfect, then that perfection is ruined and you were wearing an imperfect suit. If you have a perfect structure and it loses a single molecule, then it is no longer that perfect structure. That perfection has been ruined because it's lost a piece of itself. Do you see how fragile the idea is? Okay. But when we commit to this ideal of perfection, we start to gather the shame because we can see so many flaws in everything that we do and everything that anyone else does. Well, I'm losing viewers left and right. We can see so many flaws in what we do and what other people do that we never have an example of that perfection. But we hold ourselves up to that idea. And it's maddening. It can literally drive people insane. I have seen it. And when I say insane, I mean the legal definition of insanity, meaning not capable of functioning and is a danger to oneself and others. I have seen it with my own eyes. Okay? But we hold on to this fascistic idea. One must be perfect, you know. And I have never seen that level of commitment lead to anything happy or joyful. Um, I find it fascinating. Like, even, if you have a perfect composition from someone like Mozart, it falls apart whenever someone tries to play it. The ideal is fine, but it's not a way to live your life. But it's the way that we're forced to live our lives because external stimuli are constantly telling us that we are not good enough. And a lot of the times, and I've talked about this on the show before, people that care for us push us to make us better because they're afraid that we are going to get lazy and complacent. And I tell those people that tough love without love is called abuse. Sorry, it's just tough. And a lot of the times I tell other people to see all of me before deciding that what you see isn't good enough and what path I'm going to take. Okay. But how does this reflect when we interact with other people on the gaming table? Well, someone asked me the other day when I gave them the announcement for this show what the opposite of a gatekeeper is, because that's what I am. Okay. It's not up to very many people to determine whether or not you belong in a space. Okay. And one of the big reasons that I chose games to talk about this stuff and to do things that I enjoy with is simply because games, by their definition, are meant to be fun. They are designed for people to have fun. Now, that is kind of a reductive thing. That's kind of a reductive thing, but it's a reductive definition that I can actually see in practicality. Okay? Win, lose, draw, it's supposed to be fun. Whatever game you're playing, be it a sport, if you're playing football, or as they call it here in the United States, soccer, win or lose, you're supposed to have fun. You're running, you're kicking, you're laughing. And if you're not running, kicking, and laughing, you're running and kicking or trying to run and trying to kick. You're doing more stuff. And even if the frustration is there in the moment, the overall experience is supposed to be positive, you know? Um, but a lot of people have had so many negative experiences with things that they lose the joy in what they're doing. And that's because of so many external judgments raining shame onto them. Um, I was talking with someone today about judgment, and I do not fashion myself as a judgmental person, but who does? But I observe my behavior, and a lot of the times I oh man, I'm losing frames. This is not great. Um, a lot of the times when um when I'm interacting with people, I let them know that I do assess the actions they take as useful or non-useful, okay? Or as no, really useful or non-useful. Is what they're doing achieving the result that they want, okay? And most of the time the answer is no. Yeah, most of the time the answer on those things are no. Um so many people, having grown up in the 90s and beyond, have been taught that if they do something bad, they are bad. And bad is a blanket statement about things that are never examined. Even when I talk about the big R, when I talk to people about racism, I let them know it is an adjective that describes a verb, not a noun, not necessarily, you know? Um, a person can do a racism, they can do a sexism, they can do an elitism, um, and those are the actions that are unacceptable, okay? But we carry this thing with us. If we're not perfect, then we are defective. If we do something incorrectly, and this is a distinction I make all the time too, the difference between incorrect and wrong. Okay, one is a judgment of moral standing, one is the result of a miscalculation, i.e., guilt, shame, incorrect, wrong. These things are real and words are powerful. Okay, um, I'm very quick to say that I performed an incorrect action, or I miscalculated, or I made an incorrect thing. But wrong? I I have not seen enough evidence over the course of my life to say that I'm a wrong person. Okay? I don't believe in wrong people. I do believe in an accumulation of incorrectness, but to say that something structure who someone is, the the building blocks of themselves are wrong is not helpful. It's very reductive and it's something that causes harm. Okay? Not harm to the person necessarily, but definitely harm to the person who does it. Every time, every punch hurts the hand a little. Um, and sometimes, you know what? The punch can cause harm. So it's a thing. But the biggest bit about that is when we sit down at the table and we start feeling this stuff. That's what leads us to freezing. Okay? The four F's that happen in psychology: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. We become confrontational. Oh, what do you mean this? What do you mean that? Are you judging me? You ain't better than me. You know, um, flight. No, I'm out. I'm out. I knew this was gonna go wrong, and it went wrong, and I'm not gonna stick around long enough to fix it because y'all gonna lie anyway. I'm out. Freeze. No, no. I'm. So anybody want to do anything? No, I'll just wait. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm not gonna take a risk and make a decision because I might get the decision wrong, and that'll show how incompetent and how lesser than I actually am. And fawning. Oh, how can I help? What can I do to convince you that I'm worthy? Okay? And these four reactions are things that come out on the table a lot. And a lot of the times, when you've got a table full of people and one of them is each one of those F's, man, is it uncomfortable. Okay? But this is the dark side of the room. We talk about a lot of dark stuff. But where's that light? Because this is the dark side of the room. Where's the light? Let's head over to the light side of the room and let's talk about solutions. How do we get through this? Now, a lot of people believe that the way through this is just to be like, no, stop being stupid by thinking that you're stupid. No. I have very rarely seen that work. Okay. But what I see work most of all is to realize this. Okay. And it's a very simple thing to realize. I'm trying not to drop as many frames, but this might end up being a thing. One of the things that I have noticed, whoa, hang on. And the major thing that's helped me personally through a lot of this has been one serious concept. And that is, if I'm expected to live up to a certain standard, okay? Who is holding me to that standard, and do they? Okay, this is big. Now, I'm not hostile toward hypocrisy. In truth, I'm dismissive. You know, I used to be hostile. My life up until about 35 was swapping back and forth between anger and sadness. Okay, real talk. That's just who I am, and I'm not there anymore. I am still sad. I'm sad about a lot of things, but I'm not as angry. I am dismissive. It's, well, I can tell you with this channel, people are telling me what I need to improve it all the time. Okay, all the time. I finally got the subtitles, so hopefully those work. And, hopefully that opens things up for the hearing impaired so that they can see what we have to say and what we do here. But I get people all the time telling me to upgrade my camera equipment, buy better computers, get better lighting, get a new $3,000 this, a new $2,000 that. And I'm like, are you doing what I'm doing? Are you willing to pay for it? Then thank you for the advice, and know that I can take it when you assist me in getting what I need to do that. So like, share, and subscribe to all of those things. And if that's what I have to do in order to earn your time and money, then this conversation is moot. And that's where I leave it. Every time people look at my videos or look at one of my creations and just start pointing out flaws, instead of telling me what's good about it, they only tell me what's bad about it. I take it back from their hands and I make it very clear, okay, I'm done. Like, I wanted to know what you had to say. You have told me what you have to say, and I don't want to hear anymore. Because you don't have anything good to say. And the things that you are saying I need to do are way beyond my capability. So, thank you for your input. I'll keep it in mind. And most people get onto this judgment thing. Primarily because they are very busy judging themselves. And if they can put their attention on you, they don't have to look at how they feel like they're not put together well. Okay? And I'm not going to lie. I was told stuff like this when I was a kid, but not in any detail and not in the way that I heard it. And it didn't make the people around me stop. In fact, the less I was bothered by it, the more they would turn up the intensity. So being dismissive of it is not open to everyone. you know. But if you're in school and things are like this, I promise you it'll get better because you won't have to interact with those people for the rest of your life. You know, it'll just feel like forever. Um, when you're at a gaming table, okay? One of the things I do, because oftentimes I found myself at a game because I'm invited there by one of the people. And if one of the people there don't want me in because they don't know me, or because of my skin color, or because they don't like the way that I game, which is very non-optimized, um, I pull them aside and I'm like, we have this friend in common. Now, if you trust your friend to have good taste in people, at least good enough taste to be friends with you, then you need to trust that they have good enough taste to bring me around too. It's what I'm doing while I'm thinking about you, and I would like the same courtesy, you know. And if I don't get it, then I leave and I actually say why. Because I'm not afraid of being judged to be judgy. I'm not afraid of those things anymore, you know. Ironically, it's because of my age and my experience, because these things don't have any bearing on where I can live. You know, when they do, that's a different navigational thing. But when it comes to playing games that are supposed to be fun, um, that's how I handle it. Now, a lot of the times, you guys will sit down to play a game with people, and you'll be able to see one of those four Fs. Okay. Um, there is one other a different category of interactions, and that's the distractor. Okay, the people that just don't want to play but don't want to be left out, so they try and take over the encounter and change the nature. I had a gaming friend a while ago, and his girlfriend didn't like that we would get together and play board games or play miniatures games um when she was there. And a good amount of the times, she would make sure to spend the night and stay the night before, and the day that we as adults had already planned out all of that stuff. And she did her best to distract him because she's bitter against people playing games. There's always those people. Okay? There will always be someone that's around that. And with those people, I had to lay it down with my friend. When your girlfriend's around, we can't play because she does her best to distract you, and I'm not wasting my time in trying to play with you and my gas to drive to you to choke on false hope. Sorry, not dealing with that. That's called boundaries. um and when some people try and distract from the thing, I pull them aside. And it took a long time, and I don't recommend you do this. But what I like to do is I like to examine where they're at. And then I start asking why they would feel the way that they do with educated guesses. Is there something about the game that you don't understand? Is there something that you're just not interested in and you'd like us to do something else, but you don't want to say it? Like, what is the reason for the behavior that you're that you're exhibiting? Because at the moment you're being rude. Um, but that's what I do. That's what I do. And your guys' mileage may vary. I don't know all of your circumstances. Okay. But when it comes to shame, my call to action over here on the light side, okay, or the side that has a lamp, is simply this: examine your shame. And this is a lot. Sometimes this takes therapy. But examine your shame and see where it came from. Okay? Because I promise, you were not born wrong. Okay? You are worthy of living. You are worthy of being around. If you have an actual friend, I'm talking a ride or die friend, that means they see something in you that you might not see. And just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. Okay? Um, Most of the time we're blind to the things that our friends like about us because we're so busy focusing on all the flaws that we're told about. be it from social media like Instagram saying you're the wrong kind of slim thick, or that you're way too much, or that you don't have pecs and a six pack, or you don't have this PhD or that PhD, or you're not singing like you're not singing like, I don't know, Sam Neill, or Sam Smith, or Justin Bieber, or Beyonce, or whatever. You know, if you're not pretty enough, or smart enough, or rich enough, or successful enough, and blah 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 blah, those voices can get loud. But I think back to one of my favorite movies, and that is The Color Purple, starring Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Danny Glover. Okay. And there was a part in the movie where Whoopi Goldberg is going away from her abusive husband. And she said, I may be stupid, I may be ugly, but I'm here. You know, I'm here. And she left him. um, she left him, and she started her own business, and she stopped getting beat, and her kids came to her for advice. It was great. She accepted that she was here. All of the people that told her she was ugly, and that she was unworthy, and that she was stupid because she wasn't as pretty as her sister, all those people were wrong. And this movie was set literally in like the 1920s in the South. So if a black woman played by Whoopi Goldberg can get away from her abusive husband and start her own business, she became a tailor and started like the whole one size fits all thing, and had her own friends, and had her own business, her own money, her own stuff in the 1920s in the South, all because she's here. And I'm telling you right now, yeah, you, all right? You're here. You may not be everything people told you you were supposed to be, but guess what? You're here. And if you weren't worthy to be here, you wouldn't be. Now, I'm not saying we live in a just universe, but what I am saying is human beings are designed for flight without tools, thus, no wings. But you know what? I'm here. And if you're at the table and someone thinks you're not worthy enough to be there because they're trying to gatekeep, you're there. You found out where it was. You got the invitation. Somebody thinks you should be there. That's the person that you listen to. You know, I know I can already hear some of you guys out there step away from your keyboard. But what about if you got invited just so that they can make fun of you? Then guess what? They are not worthy of you. And you can bail and be somewhere else where you being there is good. Okay? Now, over the course of my life, I've had so many people keep me around, either because it was rude to say that they didn't want me there for reasons, or because as long as I was around, they weren't the lowest person on the totem pole. Well, I am doing much better, and I'm happier than most of them. The rest of them, I don't know. You know, they're worthy of wherever it is they are, but they're not worth my time, so I don't go looking. Okay? But I promise you this is coming from the cinematic sorcerer, the dude that has been around and knows about things that most people shouldn't. You are worthy enough to be there. If you're at the table, you are. Okay? And if people are around to try and make sure that you are the lowest person on the totem pole, guess what? If they need you for that, then you're not. Because their worth is 100% based on your presence. That's power. You know, and I don't care who told you this stuff. Peers, parents, teachers, administrators, police, politicians. None of that. None of that. None of them are correct. Okay? Shame. That big feeling that we were put together wrong and there was something inherently wrong with us has no place within the mind of anyone that is creative, that is empathetic, and that is hoping for the type of world that they want future generations to grow up in. I don't care if they're not your kids. Okay. One of my measurements is this. I have two measurements. My golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto your kids. All right. And the second is whatever you're saying, would you tell this to a child? You know, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat, you're blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is that you tell yourself in the mirror, would you tell that to a kid? Hmm? If you wouldn't tell it to a kid, then you sure as hell shouldn't say it to you. And pardon my language. You know, sure, other people have said it to you in the past. They're wrong. They are incorrect. Their assessments of you were not composed of the proper factors and the proper methodology. You don't have to believe it. Guilt? Well, that's different. Guilt is literally a case by case basis. You know, did you do something that harmed someone else? Did you do something that was not exemplary of the person that you want to be? If not, feel guilty about it, see what the problem is, and rectify the situation. Or at least navigate around that which cannot be rectified. But shame, no place. And let that go. As soon as we examine where our shame comes from and what we are believing, the amount of social anxiety that we have will lessen. This won't cure it. Okay, I'm not qualified to say I have the cure for social anxiety and it is letting go of shame. No, I'm not that qualified. But a lot of the injuries that we have are gaping wounds. And when I was a kid, my mom used to always tell me not to pick at it because I've had hundreds of stitches, y'all. And every time my skin parted and everything opened up, I'm like, well, what happens if I go down there? Wow, if I pull this off, it actually takes more than what was being, that is fascinating. And my mom's like, don't pick at it. It'll never get better. Don't pick at it. It won't heal. Don't pick at it. You'll scar. Well, every single time that you tell yourself the things that hurt you, the things that other people have told you that hurt you, you're picking at it. If you're not making it worse, you're preventing it from getting better. Okay? So don't pick at it. Don't say that stuff. Know that you are worthy. I think you're worthy. Yeah, some of you guys, hopefully more of you guys out there, and if you're watching this from the future, I mean you too. I've never met you. But either you can use a computer enough to turn on this video, or someone around you knows enough and believes that you're worthy enough to show you this video. And if you're watching, if you can hear me, I believe in your worth because you're human. You're a human being worth dignity and care and creativity and fun and joy. I'm saying this to you, and I've got the powers to reorder time. I'm not joking. I just don't do it because I'm not very skilled in it, and practicing, that's a big thing. But I believe that you're worthy. I believe that if you're not good enough to achieve, or if your skills are not good enough to achieve what you want to achieve, I know deep down where the special place is forever, that if you practice and examine what's wrong, what you're doing incorrectly, what doesn't work, and adjust those things, then you can get there. Maybe not this year, maybe not in the next 5. You know, I will tell you, over the course of my life, I've achieved skill levels in things that were way beyond where I've wanted, and with those same things, I have come down and gone up and come down and gone up and come down and come up so many times. Okay, but I know that you can too. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm an extraordinary man, but by extraordinary I mean extraordinary. I'm just like you, which means you're just like me, which means you are worthy and you are capable. You know, and whatever it is that you work at, sincerely work at, and look for ways to improve and not ways to tell yourself that you're bad. There's nothing you won't be able to achieve to a point. There's still going to be people that don't want to let you in. And it might be the rest of your life before somebody does. But you are special enough to be qualified. You know, every person that sits down at the table is capable of playing pretend. Every single one. How do I know? Because every single time that you give in to those thoughts, you are pretending that you're not good enough. Wow. You know, I argue with my girlfriend all the time, and the arguments always come down to, I believe in you. You shouldn't. Well, I do. Well, you're wrong. I am not wrong in believing in you. And you are good enough. No, I'm not. Prove it. You know, that's really what our arguments come down to. I'm an annoying partner. But the fact of the matter is, I know that you're good enough. I know that you're capable. In fact, if you're watching this video, that means that you are here, that you survived all that stuff. So don't be ashamed of what you've gone through. You know, if you feel guilty for some of the things that you've done, rectify it. You are capable of doing it. You're capable of cleaning up after it. It may not be quick, but it's always possible. But the fact that you survived it means that you are way more worthy of what it was, or worthy than what it was. And I know I hate to sound like a motivational speaker and all that jazz, but I'm telling you, I've bet my life. You know, the back in the deck is my income. It's what I do. So I've bet my life and my home on the fact that all of you out there, every single person I come across is good enough. Is good enough to play pretend, is good enough to create, and is good enough to learn anything. Okay? I've literally bet my life on that. And guess what? I am not afraid of losing that bet. Not at all. Okay, so if you're watching this now, know that. If you're watching this in the future, know that. And head over to patreon.com. But yeah, so understand in a nutshell that the differences between guilt and shame are huge. Okay, they're amazing. Guilt is something that you can do about, and shame, sorry, I don't believe that shame should exist. Okay? Because I don't believe that anyone was born wrong. I don't believe that anyone became wrong, and I don't believe that anyone is defective. We may not be made for certain things. I was not made to run 1,000 miles per hour. I was not made to catch up with a cheetah, even. Okay? I was not made to enjoy ice cream in the quantities that I would love to enjoy ice cream from, because I gain weight, I'm prone to diabetes, and I'm lactose intolerant. But that don't make me terrible. I'm not defective. I'm not built wrong. I'm not born wrong. And every single one of you guys out there got flaws. And guess what? Every person that you'll ever come across has flaws. No one is perfect. Because as we covered a half hour ago, the idea of perfection is impossible and fleeting. Because a singular change on a subatomic level to perfection ruins the perfection. So holding yourself to a standard like that? No way, man. This don't matter. You can't do that. Because you're holding yourself up to something that is literally too difficult to achieve in the dimension of existence that we are in. Okay? But that is where I'm gonna go. Now, thank you guys for hanging in there. Ha 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 ha. I finished my point before y'all started playing me out with the music. You know, that's interesting. Hang on just a sec here. My mic is acting a little odd. Oh, that's better. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for showing up. I seriously thought about today getting a co-host on this, but I figured once I start talking about this, because I'm passionate as all get out, there would probably be no room for my co-host to talk. So, but I want to thank you guys for showing up. If y'all got questions or comments, or you just want to tell me that I am straight up wrong, I challenge you to prove it. Just send me an email. At backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. Or hit me up on Twitter and tell me how much of a stupid cuck I am, right? At backinthedeck, or hit me up. Feel free to send me a private message on Instagram. I take them, but know this, I don't back down when it comes to how amazing each one of you guys are. And of course, follow the adventures of Lil Saul over on TikTok at BidP. That's BIDPY. Make sure to share and, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. If you guys want to help keep us open, I would really appreciate that. Just head on over to patreon.com/BID_P and become a decker. Become a decker in realness if you've got the money for it. If you can only afford a bag of Cheetos a month, that's $1. $1. That helps us keep the doors open. If you're rolling hard enough to spend 65 cents a day on us, or as I like to say, treat somebody to a pack of smokes and a 2-liter soda a month, that helps me keep the community stuff going with the role-playing books, the paper, the pencils, the dice, the archery supplies, the targets, the bows, the arrows, the foam, the 3D printing supplies, and the software to give the kids in the neighborhoods that I'm opening up these things in. That helps them learn this stuff and have all of the good stuff that makes what we do worth doing. And that is at patreon.com/BID_P. That's Back in the Deck Productions. And of course, I also want to thank my people in the chat. What's going on, my deckers? That's another TTV viewer. Who is that? Oh, Bean Cortana. Along with Clever Little Vixen. Good to have you back. Dame Red Bentos. I'm gonna say Janal, but it might be Hinal. I'm not quite sure, and I'm terrible with names. Along with Lacey Lux, Neon Arlecchino, Sabrina. I hope you practiced a little cultism when you were a teenager, just asking. And of course, the king of living room furniture, Sofa King Super, who has an event coming up pretty soon, so check them out on Instagram. I believe, what was it called? I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I won't be able to go because I'm spending a lot of extra time in quarantine before I get my COVID booster shot. So, and of course, I want to thank you, okay? You, whoever you are watching, be it you're watching us live right now on the Patreon or watching us live on Twitch, or if you're watching from the future, you can help us out in a few ways. You can use your Amazon Prime account to subscribe to the Twitch channel, and it won't cost you a cent. If you have the money to do like a Twitch subscription, then I would ask you to do the $5 tier at the Patreon. Bring some friends, let them know. Let people know that we're up and we're doing this whole thing. And of course, you can always like and share and all of that stuff. I'm trying to open up an e-commerce stores for a lot of the stuff that we produce here in-house for the Patreon. I'm just trying to find a fair price. But if you're watching this in the future, share it to your friends and know that I do believe in you. I know that you are worthy because you're watching us. And if you're sitting out there and you're trying to be a troll, trying to say, well, not everybody's worthy because I'm special, you're half right. You are special. And the truth of the matter is, you're a beginning at some point too. And we're here to make sure that the people that follow us don't have it as hard as we did. And that's, when I was growing up, I was taught that was a grown-up's job. That was, remove some of the barriers that you have so that your children and the people that follow you can go farther than you were able to accomplish. But I was also raised by someone that was born in the 1890s. So there we go. But thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you whenever you're watching this. And remember, if anybody tells you that you don't belong because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disability, or your budget, because the trailer park is only a mile away from the projects, y'all, then you tell them that we said to take any of those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, saying thank you guys for joining me today on the dark side of the room.